Hi, I'm Amy Shannon, and I'm glad that you are here with me. I am going to be doing another reading from my book, Reminiscences of Ballstown, Echoes and Whispers of Forgotten Legacies. Now, you may see behind me, I have the crypt um, that causes a lot of ghost stories within the small town of Ballston Spa. Um, and so much that it just kind of became a legend. Um, within the my book, I didn't want to dwell on the fact that the crypt that was presumably uh, occupied by one of the Welshes, whether it was Eliza or her husband, um, and it is now empty. That I wanted to focus on Eliza and not necessarily the ghost story behind her, because I think that um, that kind of takes away from, it's kind of interesting to think that maybe she's haunting somebody or whatever, but it takes away a little bit from the kind of the person that she was. She was a living, breathing human being, and she was living her life. She was married, and I wanted to take her story and share it with people of what I can find, because there's not a lot of known information about her. Usually that it was, when you talk about it, if you learn about it, you hear the ghost stories and things like that. And while those are fun and interesting, and maybe they're even true, I mean, I honestly, I believe in spirits. I've had enough surrounding me to know that, at least for me, whether that makes me a wackadoodle or not, I don't really care. I know what I believe and what I feel, and sometimes what I see. So, anyways, I wanted to shed a light on Eliza Hoffman Walsh, her life. Eliza lives beyond records, shadows, and never forgotten. To this day, the life and death of Eliza are surrounded by mystery and ghost stories. Most of what is known about Eliza's life is that she was orphaned at an early age and raised by her mother's sister, Sarah, and Sarah's husband, John, who was an Albany meat merchant. She was married to Edward Lewis Walsh, and so it's interesting that they both had the same initials. Um, and Walsh he owned a gambling house in Saratoga and also in New York City. And he was a friend of John Morrissey, who was famous for building Saratoga's casinos. And he was also a high rolling gambler. In 1870, a year after Eliza's death, a crypt was built in Boston's Spa Village Cemetery. It was among the original crypts established in the cemetery. For years, the place was thought to be Eliza's crypt where she rested, facing Boston Avenue with freestanding vault carrying the date, which I have behind me, 1870, on top of its stone. Chiseled in its second block is E.L. Walsh. The initials could be either Eliza or her husband Edwards. Around the period of the vault's creation, the remains of Eliza's mother, who passed away at 30 during delivery, plus a 10-year-old sister, were taken out of the ground and moved near the crypt. The aunt and uncle and Eliza's brother, a noted gambler as well, and his wife are buried behind the vault. It would be a family grouping, except Eliza is missing, or so it seems. For generations, a ghost story has repeated that a couple would appear at the crypt for dining inside. Several years ago, it was known that the crypt was empty, and there are no remains in the crypt and no sign of what happened to either Eliza or Edward. And an author's note that I put in here, I thought it was a kind place a section in this book that details the life of Eliza Hoffman and was examined beyond its cryptic ghost story. However, the only information found on Eliza was what I've included in her biography sketch. A search of any grave site database or other searches for Eliza are only about the lore surrounding her death and afterwards. I use findagrave.com and the crypt is listed as E.L. Walsh and everything is listed as unknown. So much that I could not even leave a virtual flower for Eliza. It is as if that particular profile is completely locked, probably so no one can update it. Even though there are no records that show her end or where she's buried, and the location of her remains is a secret, Eliza's family was put to rest in a crypt built thoughtfully. She belongs in this book not as a ghost, but as a remembered person. More than an absence, Eliza, wherever her body, mind, and soul now reside, is not forgotten. And I wanted that to be, I didn't want it to be about a ghost story. And unfortunately, um, there's more information about her husband. The information about her immediate family is really the only information I have is about their death records. And I've seen um, their headstones. They're buried all around it. So um, that is what I find interesting. And I'm hoping that, when you think of a ghost story, and maybe she is wandering, but let's hope that she's not and that she's at peace wherever she lies. Um, you know, I hope that she is at peace and she's not just an echo in the wind. So thank you, and stay tuned for my next video when I do another reading. This has been Amy Shannon. Thank you.